Well, welcome to another Clear Creek Golf Car Leadership School episode. Today, Trey is behind the camera instead of in front of it, so bear with your interviewer today. But I'm very excited to have our guest, Kevin Weaver. Kevin is president and CEO of the Warrior's Journey, big partner for Clear Creek, one that we've invested a lot of our time and money in, and we believe in what the Warrior's Journey does, but really have enjoyed the relationship side of things as much as anything, getting to know you and Blake and Tom and Carla and your entire team. Just great people. So very excited to have you here today, Kevin.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is really great, and I think your investment has been amazing, and it's an understatement. I mean, you guys are one of our top partners, and we couldn't do what we do without you.
Well, we appreciate that, and we love the partnership as well. So
thank you.
I know a little bit about your background pre-Warrior's Journey. If you can let our guests or our audience know your background before Warrior's Journey.
Yeah, so after high school, went to college for a couple of years, studied engineering, didn't really gel with that, so my dad really encouraged me to consider military service. He's an aerospace engineer, and so has always done government contracts, so we were always in and around like Air Force installations quite a bit. He worked on the F-16, F-22, F-35, so he's had that background. So I thought, well, Air Force, that'd be cool. You know what? I think that's what I'll do. So I just enlisted in the Air Force, didn't really have a desire to even pick a specific job. I just wanted to have an experience because I wasn't quite sure what my direction was going to be. I had recently made a faith commitment, and so I was just kind of trying to find myself, but the military was an amazing experience. I ended up going to the Republic of Panama right after my tech school. I ended up being security forces, which is a fancy way to say military police. And then I worked in the Office of Special Investigations a little bit as well, which is kind of the NCIS version of the Air Force, So, but in Panama, and I was going for a 2-year tour, extended 2 more years, extended again. So my whole Air Force career, the 6 years that I was there, and then I did some reserve time afterwards. I was only in one duty station at Howard Air Force Base when U.S. Southern Command was there. So, but enjoyed it. It was very formative for me, and through that experience, I felt a call to ministry. So, got out of the military, went to Bible school, finished some seminary classes, and ended up doing pastoral ministry then for 32 years after that. In fact, my first ministry position was going back to Panama right after the invasion in 1989. It was beginning of 1990. And my wife and I went back. I actually, when I got home, I actually met my wife. We got married, and I said, "Hey, let's go back." And she's like, "Go back where?" She had never been, so it was a new experience for her. But we went back and we pastored a church to American military members, and so we did that for several years, and then came to Springfield. That's when we hooked up with James River, and we were on staff there in the early days. So then 32 years of pastoral ministry, and then God gave us a shift when He put this whole idea of the Warrior's Journey on our heart.
That's awesome. Thank you. So one of the things I really enjoyed about being around the Warrior's Journey, being around you, here in Salgenta, and so many of the great speakers you've had at events, is hearing the stories and the journey of some of these military men and women.
Yeah.
For those of us who have not served in the military, can you kind of give us a little feel for some of the good and some of the bad things you picked up and leadership related in your time in the military?
Yeah, that's a really good question too, Brian. I appreciate that because I don't necessarily think that people who haven't served, which I feel is fine. I mean, I think most veterans, in fact, all the veterans I know, never look down on people who haven't served. In fact, sometimes guys that have served have said, "Man, I don't know if that was such a great idea," because sometimes you don't have a good experience. Right. I think most people do. I definitely did. It was a very formative time emotionally, professionally, from a leadership perspective, a personal development, and spiritually. I mean, it was all very, very positive for me. So, but I did come to the place where I realized that there are unique challenges that people face in the military that most people don't understand, because the military in and of itself is a subculture of our culture, right? It's everything American, but it's also everything military, depending on the branch. And every branch has its own subcultures. So Marine Corps guys, they have their kind of way of doing things. Air Force guys, they have their way, Army and so on. And of course, the Navy is just a different experience because most of those guys do spend time at sea. So that experience in and of itself is, quite different and unique. It's not like a cruise. You're working, and it's for months at a time. That's why I didn't join the Navy. I thought that does not sound exciting.
Right.
So, and I love those guys. I appreciate them and really respect the commitment that they make. And I do that with all the branches. And I think most of the branch guys will say, yeah, Air Force, whatever. You guys aren't really in the military. You sit in the chair and do your thing, and which to some degree maybe has some truth to it, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. And I can tell you from guys that I've even served with that when the chips are down, every single branch of the military, they do their part, and it's significant and essential. So you learn from those things, and you grow.
There is a little friendly banter between services. I think of the movie A Few Good Men, and
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland
Right.
talks. He's a Marine, and he talks about the Navy. You boys always give us a ride to wherever we go to fight. So
Exactly.
there is that camaraderie, certainly.
Exactly. So on the leadership side, for me, the good things, what I did, I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about interpersonal relationships and working as a team. I think there's a lot of team stuff going on. And I would tell you that, on the bad side, or on the challenging, I'll put it that way, on the challenging side, people are people, and so when you serve in the military, you do your time, and if you do your time and you don't get in trouble and you do a decent job and you don't mess up, which is most people, you're gonna go up in rank. You're going to add rank, and eventually, as an enlisted, I was enlisted, and so as an enlisted guy, you're going to become an NCO. I was fortunate. I actually made my NCO status what they call below the zone. I made it a little bit early because I didn't party and do a lot of stuff that the other guys did. So I spent some of my time just studying and kind of
Right.
leaning into my Air Force career, and so it kind of paid off, and I made a rank a little bit sooner. So I ended up becoming a sergeant, and then made staff sergeant by the time I got out. So I had some NCO time, but it was really great because I learned in a military environment where it's pretty restrictive, pretty solid. Like, here are the rules. Here are the regs. Here's what you do. Here's what you don't do. And for me, it was really good to see that, because part of me was like, part of me pushed back against it. It's like, why are we doing this? And okay, well, you know what? I got to do it anyway because that's what the regs say. So you learn to comply, you learn to be flexible, and then you learn to work as a team. But on the bad side, I had a couple of supervisors that weren't so great, not easy to work with. So you had to kind of achieve a mindset that said, hey, I still have to obey my orders, quote unquote. And it's not the man; it's the position, it's the rank I have to respect.
Respect the authority.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we're doing what we have to do, because, at its biggest extreme, lives could be, in
absolutely.
the balance. So
I'm assuming the pushback, those things you didn't want to do and you wanted to push back, that probably didn't work out real well, generally speaking.
No, and typically I would get the attitude, get the frustration, and go take a deep breath and say, okay, you know what, what are my options here? My options, I can outwardly do something emotional here, or I can have a little bit of emotional intelligence and look at the big picture and say, you know what, I got to suppress that and I got to just look down, do my job, get it done, do the right thing. And I was challenged in that. I had several opportunities where you could shortcut things. And I had supervisors that even encouraged me to shortcut things. But I just didn't feel good about that. Part of it was even in my faith walk. I felt it was important that I want to be a person of integrity, not just say I was, but really do that. And so there are a few things that I took it on the chin because I made some mistakes, and I wanted to own up to those. But that paid off in the end, because when the higher ups are looking, they're watching for guys like that, and it really made a difference. So awesome. I learned to just really do my best, the very best I could. Doesn't mean that I didn't fail, but even in my failures, to own it, move forward and press on. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
And the military really gave me the environment to do that in a real world situation that really was purposeful. Sure. You know what I mean? It was like, whoa, this is a big deal. We're talking about life and death, a lot of times. So
yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you serve as president and CEO of Warriors Journey, and you're also one of the co-founders of Warriors Journey. Mm-hmm. How would you describe your leadership style? You're not in the military anymore, so you don't have to abide by those regulations so tightly, but
right. Yeah.
How's your style transformed?
Well, you're right. We don't do a military style. We don't have a rank. We don't do that. But we do work off of what we would call team. It's a really important thing for me. I think there are many different types of styles of leadership. I've worked with a lot of people, even in the ministry world. I've worked in some large organizations where I was under really good leaders. Some of those leaders were autocratic. It was more of a top-down kind of thing. And, I would call it maybe benevolent dictatorship, kind of thing. And it's okay if you know what to expect and going in, but that's not really my bag. I really like to have input. I feel like with many minds and many voices, you come to the best ideas. So I feel like I've got some pretty good ideas. In fact, sometimes I feel like, well, this is what I want to do. But I've also learned that if I throw those ideas on the table with a team that's surrounding the mission and the vision, and just say, hey guys, what do you think? And they say, hey, well, what about this? And they ask good questions that I hadn't considered, or maybe they collaborate in a way that gets us to a totally different place, but it's the best place. And so my idea may not end up being the one we choose. So, but I've learned that if I can, if I can just push myself back, not attach myself emotionally or even my identity as a leader, that I've got to have all the answers, where I'm just rather facilitating a process that hopefully we're getting the best. And that's what we've pursued here at the Warriors Journey, and we continue to do it. And I think it's paying off.
That's awesome. And we try to do that at Clear Creek as well. That input makes your employees feel valued, certainly.
Absolutely.
So from that standpoint, how do you decide when you have something important that needs to be done? How do you decide whether Kevin Weaver is going to do that, or I'm going to assign that to Tom or Blake or Ernie or somebody else within your organization? The delegation part of things.
That's a great question, and it's a very complex question, because I think a lot of it depends on, part of it's our role, and we are in a position where we could actually add 10 people right now to our staff if we had the capacity and the resources to do it. We would do that. So, and we are going to be adding some folks here this year. So on that note, I mention that because right now we're kind of all hands on deck. We used the metaphor recently. In fact, we do a staff development thing that we do every week, and we recently have been talking about owning our mission, owning our vision, reevaluating, because we've grown a ton, but we have to be really careful that we don't lose sight of the, what's the main thing.
Sure.
So for us, it's always about being an advocate to the warrior, warriors helping warriors, invisible wounds and all that. So, we can get caught up in a lot of the amazing things that are happening, and all of a sudden, boom, we start doing things that aren't necessarily attached to the vision. So that, to answer your question, I think we go back to what are the opportunities. And then, sometimes it's like, who's available?
Right.
Maybe it's just that's
right.
Like, who isn't already scheduled? Or, hey, what's our best role? Like, what are your gifts? You do really well in these 3 areas, so we want to make sure that we can accentuate your gifts in that area by giving you those opportunities. And sometimes that's not me.
Sure.
And I'm not gifted at everything. Sometimes I need to be the face because maybe it's development of a new networking person, a new partner, and so they don't really want to talk to anybody else.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with me personally. It's just because of the title that I have.
Right.
They want to talk to the top dog. So it's like, okay. But many times what I'll do is I'll take other guys with me. So, hey, I want to talk to you, but I want to introduce
Give
you.
them an experience.
Exactly.
Make an introduction.
Yeah, and then like I think that's really how I even work with Clear Creek. So you work with me. You can always call me, but you also know that you can call on Blake and you can call on Ernie, and so we want to be able to give that depth. Yeah. And again, I think it adds value. And honestly, Brian, for us, I can't do it all.
Sure.
And I don't want to be that narcissistic guy that says that I have to be the face of everything and be the voice of everything and be seen everywhere. It's like, because it's not, at the end of the day, and we talk about this a lot, it's not about us. It's about what we can do with our gifts together collectively to really get the job done.
Sure.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know you're a man of faith, and obviously Warriors Journey is a faith-based organization. So how does your faith play into your day-to-day at work and your leadership and your decision-making?
I'd like to say that it's everything. I'm always challenged because it's probably not enough. I'm always challenged to make faith a deeper part and to come back to this. The way that we describe ourselves, we're a veteran service organization. And if we're in churches, we tell them, yes, we're a ministry. We have ministry aspects, or we have faith-based resources and elements. But if we're talking to the DoD, we say, hey, no, we're a veteran organization, and we just happen to have a component of spiritual fitness. So now that's not to cover up anything, but it's to kind of like Paul did in the book of Acts, when he was, they're talking, and he said, hey, this this area right here to the unknown God. Let me talk about that. So he took advantage of the culture. And so we just try to slip into the idea of culture and really doing one thing or two things. How do we meet felt needs? How do we address the needs that warriors, veterans, and their families face? No matter what that need is, because we just really feel like that's the thing that Jesus really described. I mean, he lived that out. It's like, look, I want to earn your trust and let you know that first of all, we love you guys. We love warriors, we love veterans, we love military members and their families and everybody who's affected by that. So, and we have to remind ourselves of that because sometimes we get caught up and we have stuff to do, right. And it's like boom, boom, boom. Well, and somebody walks through the door and we're in the middle of something. The way it works here, boom. Everything shuts down. The moment someone walks through our door,
top priority,
that person becomes the priority. Yeah, and we're going to handle that and make sure that they get exactly what they need. It's not, hey, we're busy right now, come back later. That's a no-go. Or if someone connects with us via our online services. And so for us, it's really that focus. And so it's all hands on deck. I think we all have to own that. In fact, we're going through a book right now. Jocko Willink. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jocko Willink, or he's a former Navy SEAL, but he wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. I don't know if you've even read it. It's an excellent book. But hey, no blame game. You take extreme responsibility. We all have to do that. No such thing as a bad team. Only bad leaders. And here's the deal. Because every team, everyone should see themselves as a leader. Because you actually, everyone has leadership responsibilities. Everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're at Clear Creek and your job is to put air in the tires, of the golf cars, or the facilities. I mean, you are a leader because you have to lead yourself. You have to give yourself in an exemplary manner. I mean, you have to do it with excellence. And when you do that, it makes a difference to the organization.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's huge, right? So
that's two things I love. We listen to a lot of Craig Rochelle podcast and Bible study messages, and Craig Rochelle says everybody's in leadership. Everybody in your organization is capable of exhibiting leadership in some form. So we encourage all our employees to take a leadership mentality and role. And then our primary owner, Jerry Marty, says everybody's in sales too. It's kind of that same thing. So somebody comes in the door and the sales guys are busy or on the phone or whatever, and you're the transportation guy, go greet that person. Yep. Everybody can fill in those gaps. So
I love that. Like for us, everybody's a leader and then everybody's an advocate. Absolutely. Even if that's not your main role. I've got some guys coming on that are going to just be helping us with video production, story operations. But hey, so again, someone walks through the door and you're the only one here, boom, you're on that person. You're like, how can we help you? And you got to love on them, let them know that there's a plan.
Absolutely. I also love the comment, there's no bad teams, there's bad leadership. And I know that stale leadership can become stagnant. And when leader becomes stagnant, I think the company probably at some point is going to follow suit. So you mentioned a book that you're raving on here just a few minutes ago. What else do you do to kind of keep yourself from getting stagnant in leadership and make sure that you're growing so that you're leading in a growth mindset?
So executive coaching is a big thing for me. I years ago I had to have a coach because I was doing a church plant kind of thing, and I got involved in way back in 2004, and I didn't really understand what that meant. This guy who lived in Nashville was going to have a 1-hour call with me, and he was going to help me just make sure every week for 2 years. I mean, I had to meet with him on Monday afternoons, 1:00 for 2 years, and this was a requirement from this church planting organization that we were working with. And I thought, well, how's that going to work? And when I thought of a coach, I'm thinking about my football coach in high school. It's like, guys can be yelling at me, telling me what to do, and telling me all the things I'm doing wrong. And it's like this doesn't sound fun. But I realized that after my first call with him that it wasn't that way. He was actually a guy who was trained to just draw out of me the ideas and the concepts that I didn't even realize or I wasn't even aware. So he helped me evoke a level of awareness. And so coaching has been something that has been very, very strong for me. It was really a huge benchmark in my leadership. In fact, that helped me, I think, achieve some really fine tuning in my leadership. And even my wife was like, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it because it's working. It's working for us too, because awesome. I became much more sensitive, much more in tune with the big picture, and not just about a hard charger blowing everything over. So coaching has been huge, and even to the point where I actually got certified as a coach, and now I'm coaching others. But I have a coach. I still have a coach, and so my particular coach, and I've had several, but I meet with that person regularly, and so that's a challenge. I think for me too, it's also stretching myself emotionally and spiritually and in leadership, always doing development. We use assessment tools, behavioral modification tools. I think transparency is really important. So to a degree, I try to be very transparent with my team, but not so transparent that they lose faith in me,
Sure.
but transparent enough to say, guys, I'm working on stuff, and so my door's open. So if you've got an issue, man, let's just deal with it. Let's work it out, because there's a way to overcome and really be, I'm here to help you be the best. Please help me be the best.
Absolutely.
You have permission to push back on me. If I feel even very, very passionate, and I'm like, we're going to do this, and and if you feel like, please, you have permission, push back, and don't have courage. There's a level of courage that goes into that too, because when you're the guy, sometimes they're like, oh man, I don't want to push back too hard because it may affect my job, or maybe the boss might get mad at me.
Right.
And so we try to just break those barriers down and say, hey, let's just all help each other. So
That's one thing we talk about. We loved about leadership school. We listened to different speakers, but there's a lot of reoccurring themes. So you touched on a couple things there. You mentioned Cayenne and the changes that she noticed in your home life.
Yep.
And we talked to our guys that this is not just for work. This will benefit you in
Oh.
all facets of life if you apply these things.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the coach. We also talked to our guys about having a mentor, somebody that they can go to, bounce things off of,
Yep.
say, hey, is there something in me that I need to be working on that I'm not seeing?
That's right.
And just have that accountability. So that's awesome stuff, certainly. So another thing, I know you have already told me that this is not exactly the way you are all the time, but since the day I have known you, I've always seen this very pleasant, positive demeanor. And that's something I struggle with at times when I get emotionally charged about things. I don't always keep that. What's your key to success there and keeping that,
Oh man.
keeping positive
Yeah.
through it all?
It's funny. It almost sounds churchy or cliche, but the joy of the Lord, is our strength, right? And there are times you can talk to my spouse about it. My wife will tell you, my kids will tell you. There have been times where I haven't had a pleasant demeanor. And I tried to be a really good dad. I have 3 boys, and I wanted my boys to be responsible. I wanted them to serve. I wanted them to have a heart of service and not be, hey, find your gift, do that well, but remember, don't just live a life that seeks success, but live a life that really strives for significance. And I think there's a big difference between those two things. And culturally, people just always are looking for success. What's in it for me, and what's in it for my family, and what's in it for, a lot of times it's about money or status or achieving a certain level. But for me, I learned early on, because I don't really feel like I'm that smart of a guy, and I was just kind of, I was okay in school, and I enjoyed it. I get along. I do all right. But more importantly, I wasn't going to be the guy that was going to be the president of the United States someday. I just didn't have that desire. But I didn't really feel like I'd ever be the head of any kind of company either. So to be in this position is very humbling for me, because I'm like, yeah, I know my shortcomings too, and I know that I've got to have a lot of other guys around me. So the bottom line, at the end of the day, I just pray, God, just help me to be that guy that's making a significant impact in someone's life. And so that means including my family, right, and my wife, trying to maintain that as well. But that means that, hey, when someone has a need, think of that person first before I think about my own needs. And I'll tell you what it is. It's so much. It's just fun to give. It's fun to be able to give back. When we get guys that call with sometimes seemingly impossible situations, I'll tell our guys, because they're like, oh man, we don't know if we can do this. Yeah, we can. We can do something. Look, I don't know what we can do, but we got to figure this out.
Sure.
Let's dig. Let's do some investigating. Because obviously they've gone to all these other organizations, and the door is slammed. It's been no, no, no. We're going to say yes, and we're going to figure it out. We won't make promises, but we'll say we'll do our best. And I don't know. There's something about that just gives you joy, because that is I think a breeding significance in the lives of other people. If that makes sense.
So that's a resiliency. I'm sure that's something you learned in your time in the military. Our troops obviously are very resilient, going through a lot of tough stuff and tough situations.
They are, and we deal with guys that have gone through a lot, and I've gone through some really tough things.
Sure.
I've gone through some loss, and there were some things in the military that I dealt with that were very difficult, very hard. some relationship things that happened before I met my wife that were very hard, and I'm like, oh, what, you get the Dear John letter kind of
Right.
thing, and those are really difficult situations and heartbreaking things, but I found that through brokenness, if you can achieve this connection, and to me, not to sound too churchy about this or too pastoral, but to me, it's like that tether to God has always been my, God, everything else has fallen apart. I don't see a way out of this. Doesn't seem like there's any light here. I don't see hope, but I know that you say you are hope, and so I'm just going to hang on to it. And I'm going to hang on to it even right now. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm going to hang on to it and know that tomorrow you're going to show me, or today you're going to show me, or at some point when I'm ready, you're going to lead me through this. And He's been faithful every time.
That's awesome.
So I just let that carry over into, if God has given me that and proven that to me, well, why can't I just express that to others? And so,
You do.
yeah, well,
That's
good.
awesome.
Thank you. I try, and trust me, it's like, it's always,
Sure.
it's not easy,
Sure.
and it's not simple. You have to work at it, right?
That's awesome. We've been blessed with a lot of good people at Clear Creek and got a lot of good, young, talented people on our team. Some of them just kind of starting their work journey and don't know what tomorrow or 10 years from now holds for them, but there's a lot of potential there. So in closing, what would your best advice, or what would you say to some of those young guys who maybe don't have it all figured out? They know they're on a path that they enjoy right now, and they know there's opportunity in front of them. They just don't know what it is or when it will come about.
Yeah.
What would you say to those guys?
I think a simple thing that worked for me, I saw it work for my kiddos, and I harped on it. I mean, ad nauseum. They'd be like, I know, Dad. It's like, I know. But I would always tell them, look, when you have a task, when you find that there's an opportunity and you make a commitment to engage in that opportunity, like a job or a career, and you want to be able to find something that you can enjoy. I said, if you can enjoy it 70% of the time, that's golden. You're not going to enjoy everything about it. There's no perfect job. There's no perfect career. There's no perfect experience. But if you can enjoy it that much, the parts you don't enjoy, press into it, lean into it. Just discipline yourself to do what's required. In fact, if you do that and do just a hair more, you probably rule the world.
Sure.
Because unfortunately, we live in a comparative society. So, and you're a business owner. You're looking for good help. You're looking for good hands, and you're not just looking for people who can do the job, but who can be passionate about the mission of that organization. Right? For you guys, it's not just about probably selling golf cars. It's about making a statement with your, you have a DNA, that goes beyond just sales, right? I mean, sales is a big part of it.
Yeah, we want to deliver an experience.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, to me, it's like if you're in a position like that and you work for a company like that, figure that out, discover what that is, and believe in it. And then do your best, give it your all. And I think there's just something to be said about, the enemy of good, or excuse me, the enemy of great is good, or good enough. And I'm stealing that from Jim Collins. You're very familiar with that one, right? Good to great. So, but great is so good. It's so worth working for. So you may not know exactly what that thing is. Maybe you're just working a particular job that will be a stepping stone to something else. But if you'll do your best in that job, that will help you then develop a character that will give you the tools that you'll need to do when you do find that, whatever that role is, you'll have all the tools you need to really succeed and be significant in that success.
That's awesome.
So,
well, thank you so much for sharing. Trey and I were driving over today, and we're talking about how excited we were to hear from you, and this has just been an awesome time, and I appreciate it. You're taking the time and you're sharing, and
my pleasure.
This is great stuff.
Well, this is what it's all about, and we're all in it together. And Brian, and thank you. I can't say enough about our partnership with Clear Creek, and what I love about you guys is that you believe in what we're doing, and that means so much to us. More than, we thank you for the resources, the time, the efforts, the ideas that you've given us. You guys are like family to us. You're part of the Warriors journey.
And that's how we view it as well.
Yeah. So we appreciate that too, because I know I talked to a lot of other nonprofits, and they're like, "How do you just?" I said, "Hey, you got to get them in, get them. They're part of the family. You guys, you're so deep, and so we appreciate it."
We appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.